So basically, I'm going to do a quick rundown of what we did the last year. I don't mean to be funny, but who knew the COVID virus was gold? But no, I mean it was an exceptional year. I mean, I know it was a difficult year for lots of people. Some people I know was difficult, and I hope everybody listening here that if you're all affected somehow, I'm sorry to hear that. So it was a year of extremes. What can I say? We started off the year. All this started. Bernard and I were at PDAC, and it all started sort of like people. Oh, well, okay, that's a weird thing happening here. We got to touch our elbows, and that's it. And then it quickly, then I get back home, and then everything's locked down. Everything gets locked down. The stock tanks to what? We had a low of 6 cents. And then there was even a moratorium in Quebec where we weren't allowed doing any gold exploration. So it looked pretty dire. But then, as dire as it was, it went to another extreme. As people saw, we had a couple peaks in the stock where it went high, and financing. We had a great year in financing. So all our projects were well financed and are still well financed. We still, there's good money in the till. So basically, there was a bit of a delay in starting work for many reasons. COVID made things difficult. One of our workers, our handman, the main handman, did get sick. Then his mother was sick. So we were delayed a bit in the summer as far as manpower, but we caught up really quickly, and we were fortunate having good weather. So I'm not going to go through. On our website is the regular corporate presentation, which we explain why you should be investing in this company, showing the great history this property has. So I'm just going to give a quick overview, and this slide says it all. For those new to the project, what Beauce Placer is all about is that the Beauce Placer has a great history of placer gold mining. And again, when we're talking about placer gold, this is not the type where it was people, panning the side of the river. No. For 50 years, starting in the 1860s, this was a placer mining on an industrial scale. It started right around here where you see the yellow line. It started where basically people were digging shafts and then tunnels. Up to a point now, there's over 6 kilometers of tunneling that was done. And what the placer is an auriferous till and a saprolite that sits on top of bedrock with a heavy till overburden on top. So they were digging shafts and tunnels. They would bring the gold back up. They would wash it. And this area known has many firsts, has many Canadian firsts. Largest nuggets in Canada were found from this property. First gold mine registered as a company from this company. The mining claiming system. The legal battles that resulted that started the modern claiming system as we know that is used throughout North America today started on this property. So lots of firsts. The placer channel has been measured many times in the past. It's 6 kilometers long with fairly homogeneous all along, of course, with some areas which was higher grade, which is interpreted by where there was mining activity, where the high grades are, that's where they mined the placer. And there was 2 main zones that was mined. There was this zone right here, and then in the 1910s and then in the 1960s, as recently as the 1960s, was a big dredging operation right here. Now, everybody's interest throughout 150 years on this property has always been to measure the placer gold deposit to see if there's more gold to mine. Our predecessor company, Eurogold, had the same idea. Well, exploration is nice, but there's gold there that can be mined, the placer gold. So, but things have changed. And so when we were Eurogold, what happened is that everybody was asking the question, placer gold is a gold anomaly. In other words, that gold came from somewhere. And the hypothesis is clear right there, is that the gold came from somewhere. Where did it come from? Maybe from where it came from, there's a lot more of it. So that's the basis of Beauce Gold Fields. Now, there was a lot of things preventing from, what happened was, why did nobody really explore for the gold source in the past? It's simply because exploitation was exploitation versus exploration was always exploitation that take the upper hand. Why? Because it's revenue. It's rarely cash revenue. So there you go. And then what happened was for over almost 100 years, really, there was a moratorium where, not a moratorium, but because of a stupid legal, I won't get into law, it's a long detail, but it's fascinating still. Because of a legal fight that happened there, is that the property owners, if you own land in Southern Quebec, you held on, you had rights on the minerals, as the rest of Quebec and all of North America, just about, mineral rights are held by the state, in this case, Quebec. So it was only in 1985, very recently, that this was overturned, which allowed gold exploration in Southern Quebec. So and what happened since then? Well, there was a balkanization of the mining claims. So we were the first to put this whole, it took a long time. We were the first to put the whole package together of land claims to say, okay, now we got it all. Let's go find out where this came from. The gold came from somewhere in the valley. It didn't come from outside the valley. It came from somewhere within this valley. So that's where the hypothesis starts. Now, another thing that made us excited to go start, said, whoa, we really got to find a source, is because this was a Beauce Gold Field discovery / Eurogold. Is that we did massive, this was a first in the area, we did massive modern geophysics. And with this, as you can see right here, we found out that there's a beautiful fault line which comes right underneath and goes along straight the placer channel. That's exciting. Why are fault lines exciting? Well, for example, some of the biggest gold districts follow a fault line. Famous example, and there's a lot of similarities to this, is Val d'Or, Quebec. You know, most of the gold mines all follow the Cadillac trend, which goes from Val d'Or, Timmins, Ontario, and we're seeing very similar to the Cadillac trend here. You know, northern part, volcanic rocks, southern part, sedimentary rocks. They meet in the middle, and that's where we believe fault line, and that's where gold is. Now we've sort of proven the model 2 years ago. Last year. Basically, we did trenching last year and the year before. And the year before, one of our trenches hit into the fault line, and we extracted actually, which was visible gold grains from the bedrock at the fault line. Now, the second big, after the geophysics, the second exciting thing that we discovered is that gold in the bedrock at the fault line has the same signature as the placer gold, which was drilled in the past from the placer. What I mean by the same, yeah, gold is gold, but the thing is that they have very similar silver content, and its surrounding material, in this case, the surrounding till and saprolite, and in this case, the surrounding bedrock, had the same tracer elements. So that was a very exciting find. So basically, we confirm is that, you know, the placer gold probably came from, you know, a hard rock structure close by. So now, here's the thing. The thing is 6 kilometers long. We're talking about 30 square kilometers. Where do you start? And again, the challenge was there's a thick glacial till overburden. Still, there's places along that 6 kilometers where bedrock was outcropping. So what we did, as much as possible, we scoured the whole valley to try to find bedrocks, and we did that. So that's what we did in 2019. We did a massive sampling, and the results were quite revealing, really. And basically, what it shows is that the surrounding bedrock, there's no gold. Okay, well, that's surprising. But what's more important is that usually in a gold district, there's always a sniff of gold, or a background noise of gold, which is higher than it. But no, it doesn't happen there. So again, it shows that the gold phenomenon we're looking for is very narrow and very so. So what we did was a bit of a game of battleship, really. In other words, is that where you're trying to eliminate areas where there's no gold, and hopefully we're going to concentrate this. So now we've widened out the exploration at the start, and by our sampling of no gold, suddenly we found gold in a trench near the placer deposit. We found another rock near the other placer channel that had gold in it. So again, we're narrowing down that zone, and we're starting to confirm that if there's a gold discovery to be made, it's either very close to the placer channel, maybe even directly right under it. So again, so what we did this in the fall up until basically, we were very fortunate since mild weather, we were able to work up until December. So we did another series of trenching. This time, basically, because of the overburden, again, it's a valley being filled up. Always keep that in mind. So we did trenching as close, as deep as possible that we could to try to access bedrock that we couldn't find as outcrop. And we did. So we did the closest trenching ever done to the historical placer channel. And results are pending. Results are pending. But what's really important, and part of the data that was missing that we needed was structure. We need to confirm what is the bedrock structure beneath this overburden till. This will help us in future drilling, in direction of drill, how the folds are, which direction the folds are. We have an idea through geophysics, but we got to see it to confirm that. And so the data we're going to get from the trenching will give us this. And of course, in the trenches, is there gold in it? And do you have the same tracer elements as the placer gold? These are all things that we want to find out. Again, we have many samples out in the lab right now, so I can't wait to get results. It's going to tell us a lot. But eventually we're at a point where, yes, eventually we're going to have to, the overburden is too thick, we're going to have to drill. So I don't know if anybody saw this. I surprised a press release on everybody this morning, so some of you might not have a chance to read it, but it's pretty exciting. It has to do with these old pictures I have behind me right here. Now, like I explained before, in the 1960s, there was a major placer dredging operation, which was happened here in the Saint Gustave Road. Now, here's the thing, we talk about a lot. It was like, this was the largest and only placer operation in Eastern North America. Was right there. But the thing is that for such a big operation, there was hardly, there's almost no records of it, really. The only thing in government records was there's about 4 documents of each, about 4 pages, and they're just written summaries and observations. There was results as far as a placer deposit, but they were all resumes and talking about sections of how much yardage there is, but there was no drill hole information. There's almost no details. I mean, it almost became almost became folklore, and nobody really understood why. There was just guessing of why the dredging operation didn't work, because again, there's no documentation really for such a huge operation. Well, we found it. We found the whole documentation. It's an amazing story. It happened like before Christmas, so it's almost like a Christmas tale. Let me explain basically what happened here. And it's also I always had the policy to be a good corporate neighbor to the town of Saint Simon-Nieman. We own real estate. Mining is part of their heritage. And as much as possible, we always try to hire labor and equipment from the town to where the closest to the town as possible. And because of basically economic activity has been going well in the Beauce, it was hard to get excavators. So I had to deal with 3 different excavator operators just to do the trenching we did. And this is sorry if it's long-winded, but it's a great story. So I'm just going to tell the story. Is that one of the operators that we hired to do trenching, he tells us the story. Says, well, I got a lot of documents at home, and you might be interested in having a look at that. So okay. I mean, I put a cross on ever finding historical documents more than that. I mean, okay, the drill logs are long gone. It's been 60 years, and forget about it. It's never going to happen, But then suddenly this collector, he invites me to his house, and right away, here's the story. His parents owned a general store in the town of Saint-Simon-des-Mines, and he brings me home. It's a beautiful home, very big estate, pretty much. The man's a successful businessman, and he shows me to his home, and right away I see, you know, a lot of antiques, and he shows me in his basement. He even recreated his parents' general store, which was started by his grandfather, that used to be in the village. So he created the whole thing. It's like a museum, and that's where I got really excited. You could see an avid collector, a great sense of preservation, item preservation, and sure enough, our collector, he had the goods. And what can I say? With this, we found over 344 drill holes, which were never reported before, including geophysics and all data pertaining to the operations there, and more, and even drill holes from other sectors in the Beauce, other placer districts. So it's quite a windfall. Put it this way: to recreate all this data that we just have, I mean, we'd have to spend like millions, just quick calculation, it'd be like over $5 million to have the same data. So it's quite a windfall. Never published. It's in our hands, and it's very revealing. So we're going through that now. There's a lot to go through. We're scanning this. We have to overlay all the information, but just a very quick overview still. They were doing overburden drilling. You see, before the placer operation started, they hired a company called the New York Placer Dredging Company, and they did an amazing job to measure the placer deposit, to define the placer channel. I mean, they just didn't go in this for no reason. I mean, this was huge investments, tens and tens of millions of dollars to this in today's money. So they did a great job, but they weren't an exploration company. They were there. It was a no frills. They went all out. It was just to measure the placer deposit and organize the mining operation to mine it. That's it. But they did extensive drilling, and what's nice is that they did 7-inch drill holes, so it's very representative. The data is going to be very, very representative, and it was very, very complicated. They went from either there's no gold, so you get right here, you can eliminate a hole. There's no gold, there's a trace, and when I say trace, it's still visual. They didn't send it to the lab. Once the drill hole was done, they would on the spot, they would test it right away, and they would categorize trace of gold, or they would give a gold grade. So there was nothing ambiguous about it. And I could hear people are wondering, just drill hole logs, geophysics data, everything pertaining to the back office administration, maintenance of the dredge and the drag line. So it's just an amazing amount of information that we have to go through. And I could tell you what that says. The impact is profound. I mean, it's a layer of data which will really help us to refine our drilling targets for later on. And it changes everything in our search, basically finding this hard rock source. So it's just an amazing, just to give you an idea. What you're seeing here in blue and green, all these were different. Blue are reverse circulation drilling. Again, it's drilling into the overburden. In other words, it's the drill into overburden to get to the bedrock to measure the placer deposit. This is what it was. So in blue were the drilling that was done in the 1980s. In green is the drilling that was done by our predecessor company, Euro Gold, in 2012, I believe, around that. Again, but we did sonic drilling. It's like an overburden. It's another form of overburden drilling, but sonic drilling is that it allows you to get whatever the material, whether it's sand, mud, it's to get undisturbed cores and able to extract the gold nuggets and seeing how they sit within the deposit. And that was from this type of drilling that we also learned that the gold was pristine and delicate, so it didn't travel far. So if we add the drilling that we just have right now, all the red spots are the new drill holes. It's an amazing data set. And again, this redirects the project like we could have never imagined. It's very exciting. So now we got to tabulate all this. We got to interpret it, translate yards to meters, and can try to coordinate GPS coordinates to everything that was done the way in the maps and that. So once that is that, we'll go to really update and have a full compilation map and layer this data, and we're gonna have a lot of fun with that. And this is something we announced a few weeks ago, is that we staked some more placer to hard rock properties. Again, like I explained before, for me, placer, some people in the industry look down on placer, but no, placer is a gold anomaly. It means gold came from somewhere. And we're fortunate enough that there was all these properties available for staking in Southern Quebec. So we took advantage of that. And one of the highlights of the properties is the Megantic Property. And what's nice is that all these historical placer mining rivers really all follow along a fault line. Again, very similar to what we see in the Beauce. By the way, this is just south of the property. It's about 30 kilometers south of our Beauce Gold Field property near the U.S. border. It's just at the border of Beauce. This is part of the tip of the eastern townships of Quebec, right at the U.S. border. But we're seeing, again, the same model here. We're seeing a fault line. On this side, volcanics. This side, sedimentary. They meet together. And what a coincidence, there's all these placer districts around there. So, and another reason why I felt it was important is because there's a lot of analogies to what we're doing to what's happened in the Yukon, the Klondike Yukon. Klondike Yukon, everybody knows about it, very famous. But again, that was overlooked and totally, people would just shrug about it for like the past 80 years. But everything changed about, 5-8 years ago when underworld exploration, the prospector Sean Ryan, discovered the White Gold Project. And so it was the first time that they were able to associate a hard rock gold deposit that perhaps is where some of the Klondike gold came from. And as a lot of you know, the White Gold deposit was bought out by Goldcorp. And when that happened, all those placer districts that everybody never gave two thoughts on suddenly became very valuable. And underworld exploration, or White Gold, had the foresight to claim all this. And then all these properties were JV'd with some major companies. So joint ventures, or were just outright sold to other exploration companies. And it was a side project which became very, very profitable besides the selling of the White Gold deposit. So what I'm saying is that I took advantage. The cheapest way to get a gold property is when you stake it, map staking. And that's what we did. So it didn't cost much to do it, but yet we got over 20 gold properties throughout Quebec. So I believe that, besides of its own merit, that it's a good exploration play right here. If we make a big discovery here, or even in the Beauce in Saint-Simon-les-Mines, well, I think these this inventory of property will suddenly could have a pretty good value. So we'll see. But for now, we're really excited about what we grabbed. This is one of them. Again, just give you it's very similar to what happened in the Beauce. The Mining Brook. A lot of people don't know about it, but the Mining Brook, same thing, around 1910. A lot of mining activity, about 20,000 ounces of placer gold was mined there. People might remember once I tell the story about the guy that came to my office and he had a suitcase. The combination opens it up, and in the suitcase he had all these gold nuggets and a thermos with the lock and pouring all this gold. He got all this from the Mining Brook. He was put on a wetsuit with a jig suction, and so what I'm saying is that, but the gold is not just in the river. Our interest is that, again, a lot of the gold is in the glacial till overburden there. So it's a question of, we claimed a lot of these glacial till overburdens, and of course the districts around these rivers, but our interest is not the river itself. Again, that's just an anomaly, but it points that the gold came from somewhere. And we now have many things. So we have one thing. We have the gold anomaly that went on. There's history of gold. And there seems to be a geological model that can explain where this gold came from. So give you an idea of what this is an image of basically people that were mining gold in the Mining Brook. But this is very typical in Southern Quebec. a lot of these glacial till overburdens becomes either gravel or even sand pits. And I'll tell you now, some of the gold is being spread out over the streets. They use the sand sometimes as an abrasive of winter, and some of these sand quarries, which has a historical record of gold in it, is being spread out. So I find that pretty funny when I see that. But still, it's very promising. So each claim that we took, and you could see in the press release about 2 weeks ago, all these regions, each of them, it's because there's a history of gold or gold showing in or around of the place. If not right, also maybe some past gold production as well. So it's we're really excited about that. Again, as we stake some of these properties, we did some grab sampling. We sampled some hard rock sampling. We're seeing again this, like I said, there's a lot of similarities to the bedrock we're seeing in the Beauce, which gets us really excited. So we have over 150 samples that are sent, both rock and till sampling. So again, we have a lot of results from both, and from the new properties, we have a lot of results pending. And next step, well, we're there. We're getting there now. Basically, it's time to drill. Again, we went as far as we could. We believe we went as far as we could as far as data. No, we didn't want to, in this industry, there's the pressure to go drill right away. But I'm telling you now, if we would have drilled beforehand, we would have been drilling in the wrong place. We would have been, we would have, by being methodical about it, by eliminating certain zones, we're able to narrow down basically where we are, our surge zone. And I think that's going to be a good payoff. And we're probably going to have more bang for a buck in the drilling going forward than if we would have drilled before. So we will be drilling this year. We're well financed to start the drilling project. So we'll be starting some exploratory drilling. What I mean by that is that we don't know where the main vein is that the gold's contained. And the only way now again, there's a thick overburden. So the only way is to do exploratory drilling to have an idea of what's going on as far as the structure. And if we hit gold, or if we find an important structure, well, then we can follow it with more drilling going forward. Also, basically, since, like I said, we were all well financed, so we took advantage of that by doing things maybe unconventional for an exploration company. We own a lot of real estate. We bought this real estate. It was a land package we bought when it was Eurogold from the Beauce placer. Like I remember I noted is that in Southern Quebec up until 1985, you had to own the land to do exploration or gold on it. Or basically, if you owned land, you also had gold rights on it. And that changed in 85. So in 1960s, that dredging operation, well, what they did, they bought the land. And that property stayed into a mining company, which was, but passed over from one company to the next until we came along and we bought that portfolio of real estate. And but we had it was a pretty hefty mortgage we had to pay on it. So we decided to pay it off in full, and it's and it takes some of the stress off the books. So it's one asset the company has. And again, it was a great year for financing. So we're well financed we're well financed. So all our projects we did were paid for. And going forward, well, we have money to start our drill program as soon as we're able to do that. As soon as we get all the data together, and as soon as basically I guess it's going to be in spring when the ground's going to be firm enough, we can start doing that. So that's pretty much the overview and going forward. If anybody has any questions.